Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving right into SDG Goal 10, Reduced Inequalities. As a global policy expert, I've got to say, I am incredibly thrilled to be speaking with you today. You are the next generation of global citizens. And understanding this goal, well, it's absolutely essential if you're preparing for university or looking toward an international career, because it touches, quite literally, every aspect of our global society.
So, how do we build a world of fairness? I want you to imagine something for a second. Imagine a world where your future is determined entirely by your talent and your hard work, not by where you were born, not by what you look like or who you are. To build a truly stable, prosperous global society, we absolutely have to reduce the gaps between the rich and the poor. We must ensure that progress is shared by everyone, leaving literally no one behind.
Okay, let's dive into this. To practically bridge this gap, we're going to explore three structured themes today. First, growth and inclusion. Second, equality and policy. And third, global support and remittances. Starting off with Section 1, Growth and Inclusion. Here we'll look at the targets that focus on tackling economic gaps within countries. To tackle those economic gaps and promote basic human rights, we first need to talk about income growth. Put simply, this is just the rate at which an individual's or a whole nation's economic earnings expand over time. Our very first priority for reducing inequality is achieving and sustaining this income growth for the people who need it the absolute most. Now, what's really interesting here is the magic number, 40%. The UN target specifically states that income growth has to target the bottom 40% of the population. And here's the kicker. It must grow at a rate higher than the national average. Think about that. If the poorest 40% grow their wealth faster than the average, the gap between the rich and poor naturally starts to close. It's like a built-in catch-up mechanic. But hey, equality isn't just about money, right? We also have to empower the social, economic, and political inclusion of all people. This means everyone deserves a voice and a seat at the table. It means fairness irrespective of age, sex, or disability, and irrespective of race or religion. It's all about building a society where absolutely anyone can participate fully, no matter their background. And that brings us right to Section 2, Equality and Policy. To make all that inclusion a reality, governments must enforce equal opportunity. Basically, this is a state of fairness where individuals are treated similarly, completely unhampered by artificial barriers or prejudices. To achieve this, governments have got to step up and eliminate discriminatory laws and practices. Equality requires fair rules for everyone, everywhere. And this brilliantly illustrates the concrete steps governments must take to make that equality a reality. They need to adopt three key types of policies. First, fiscal policies. That's how a government collects taxes and spends public money. Second, wage policies, to make sure people are actually paid fairly for their labor. And third, social protection policies, which act as a vital safety net for vulnerable folks. Used together, these progressively lead to greater equality for all citizens. Moving right along to our third section, global support and remittances. Because inequality is a massive global issue, we need serious international cooperation. First, we must give developing countries a much stronger voice in international economic decision-making. Second, we must encourage targeted financial flows to the regions that need them most. And third, we need to reduce the financial burden on migrant workers sending money back home. Let's break those financial actions down a bit further. To make those financial flows happen, we rely heavily on Official Development Assistance, or ODA for short. Think of this as government aid designed specifically to promote the economic development and welfare of developing countries. It is absolutely critical that the global community encourages these financial flows to the states where the need is greatest, especially the least developed countries. So the crucial point here is how we help everyday people, specifically migrant workers who travel abroad just to provide for their families. The target aims to reduce the transaction costs of what we call migrant remittances, which is simply the money workers send back to their home countries. The global goal is to reduce those transfer fees to less than 3%. Let's move to and see how this builds into real-world change. Consider this. Right now, many of the pathways used to send money across borders charge over 5% in transaction fees. The 2030 target is to completely eliminate those high-cost corridors and bring all costs under 3%. It might sound like a small shift, but this directly helps families in developing nations keep way more of their hard-earned money, which pumps right back into their local economies. Which brings us to our final section, leading the change. We've talked a lot about data, targets, and policies today, but honestly, None of this happens without strong voices leading the way. Reducing inequality is the key to a peaceful and prosperous world. It is not just a moral duty, it's a foundational requirement for global stability. As future university students and international professionals, you hold so much power to advocate for inclusive policies and challenge discrimination wherever you see it.
So, I will leave you with this final, provocative thought to chew on. How will you help bridge the gap in your community or across borders? Think about what you can do to promote social, economic, and political inclusion in your own life. Let's work together to create a world where opportunity is truly universal. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I literally cannot wait to see the change you all create.